Hey, welcome back, Binder and UA fans, for another episode of building Heinous the Adventurall. And man, let me tell you, it's under 60 days to go. Today's July 9th, getting hot outside. I got swamp coolers on, fans buzzing, so that's why you hear probably that background noise. But I got a lot of catching up to show you guys, sort of, because I've taken a lot of things apart that I've just done. But anyways, lots to show you, lots to catch up with you, and then let you know, where we're at with the project. So stay tuned. All right, so it was pretty much a mad dash, just been kind of like trying to finish everything to get the body to this stage to where we could paint the roll bar, which we got done, and get lizard skin applied and get primer paint underneath. And man, like I said, just been working hard. So much has happened, I don't even know where to start, but let me just tell you a few things like I said here that I just mentioned. So on the roll bar, I've always done just black cages and stuff like that. And I'm like, man, black just with this green's just gonna, I don't know. I wasn't feeling it, especially with the brown interior. But like a green cage, sure. So I ended up finding this SEM self-etching primer. It's called Green Vert. And I'm like, man, that kind of looks like a cool green. So that's all that is just primer. And then I bought some like $30 a can clear coat, and I gave it a clear coat on that. So I should say, actually, Travis painted it, who's out back, one of my guys from the shop, and he's the one that's been doing the lizard skin, the painting and the finishing, and really helping out. As for, again, the lizard skin, two different products here that we always use in our shop, and I like to use on my products. This is the stuff for the sound control. And doing this is like, man, to me, it's well worth the time it takes, because you can only get, we might actually be able to squeeze 3 coats in a day, being how warm it is out here and stuff, and the humidity levels and such. But we're definitely, without a doubt, getting at least 2 coats a day, like one in the morning, one in the afternoon. And you just do layer after layer after layer after layer until you don't have any more. So I bought 2 jugs of sound control just to do the floor and firewall of this. And I got a couple little panels here on the floor for the transmission tunnel covers. And looks like the guys snuck in something from the shop over here that needed to get lizard skin too. And then once you're done with that, we have the, this is their thermal controls, they like to call it. This is ceramic. It really hardly weighs anything. And usually the guys, especially Travis, can just get this thing blown on in like, 1 or 2 quick sessions, and it sets up really fast. So that's what's been going on there. And then again, Travis also got underneath here and used and primed it all. So we're ready to put a bunch of heat shielding products that I have. I'll show those to you in a second. But man, here we are with the body. This is how much work we've gotten done on it. And on to the next thing. Let me show you what else I did. So the other thing I got done during the full teardown was getting the dash ready. So all these little rectangular holes here, there, and over there are all for the dash vents for the vintage air system that's going in. And then switch panel goes here, a few more switches there, and headlight wipers, that's all ready. And then over here I set up this panel, which you'll see later when I put all this truck together. But this is going to have a little sniper module on it, and then I've got the controller for the vintage air system going into it. So that was one of the other things of a million things I've had to get done here in the last couple weeks, just because this was the time. Once you do finish work, you definitely don't want to get a bunch of metal filings and all that in your finish. So anyways, got the dash done. In the last episode, we were banging this cage out of there and got it all out. One of the feet still kind of on this side was hard to get out, but we got it. I don't know. I mean, I probably should save myself some time and just put another connector in there to make it easier, but I think we'll be able to just get it. It's only got to go back in. I hope to God just one last time, and that's it. So, but the cage came out. We put it all back together, got it all finish welded. Travis got it all sanded down. pretty much it is ready to be painted, but I'm actually just holding off because it's, man, the cage isn't going to go into the body until that dash I just showed you goes in, which means a lot of electrical stuff. So this thing's just going to be sitting around and it's going to get scratched and dirty. So this will probably be, we're just going to wait to paint the cage until probably like the day before it's ready to go in. So, but anyways, got the cage done, and it is ready for to turn green as well. A couple other things here done on the chassis is one, you may or may not tell, there's no longer a Tremec TR4050 sitting here any longer. Saw in the last episode, Zaid was putting together last minute a NV4500 for this thing. Unfortunately, Advanced Adapters wasn't able to get me my replacement input shafts for him on time as they promised me months ago. So pretty bummed about that, but it is what it is. It's water under the bridge. We need to move on. So here it is, a GM, early GM NV4500. And what I like about the fact we ended up going this route over the Tremec is this has actually a slightly deeper first gear. This is 6.34 versus the 6.16 on the Tremec, and that which most other NV4500s are 5.62. That's like what I have in Hideous and Patriot Scout, and my Travelall, and Zaid's got in his truck, and on and on and on. Like most of those are that's the first gear. So with the 42s, I'm really happy to have the deeper first. The other thing I like about them is it actually has a slightly deeper second. Second gear in those other previously mentioned trannies is 3.04, and these are 3.44. So a little bit deeper second gear. You know, a lot of times you don't even start off in first. You kind of start off in second. So it's nice having, you know, the ability to have just a little bit deeper gear for, again, with the bigger. I'm used to the 40s on the 538s. These are 42s, man. I mean, it's going to be even. It needs all it can get at this point. So it's kind of nice to have that. I had to do an adapter plate because the NV4500 is a ½ an inch shorter than the Tremec is, the Tremec TR4050. And I already had everything else designed and built. And I really wanted to be able to just replace it, put this back in, and not have to change anything back here. And by golly, that kid, he found an adapter plate in, I don't know, just one of our parts bins that was sitting around. It was like 3/4 thick, and I needed a ½ inch. He threw it on the lathe that Corey recently taught us how to use, and got it machined down, and bam, fit perfect. I mean, everything just lined up great. Some of the things I have to do on a project I dread, and like, oh, it's going to be such a pain in the butt. Nothing's going to line up. And man, those are the ones that end up being the easiest, and the ones I always think they're going to be the easiest end up kicking my butt. So, but anyways, got those in, and with that done, I was finally able to do my heat shields. So put one over the muffler, got one over the main exhaust. So it's really going to help. There's actually another one that goes over the, right over these little tailpipes over here. It actually attaches to the body. Got a little flapper right there. And then I've got the fuel tank guards, got a couple little, so anywhere I could that, you know, just help keep the heat directed. I am going to be wrapping this with Heat Shield Products wrap, but yeah, anyways, so that's what I got done. I'm going to get Travis over here. He's going to pull off these heat shields right now because he's looking for something to finish and paint for me so we can keep this project rolling. One of the other things I got fabbed up recently was the throttle bracket. This was a pretty standard issue bracket. At least the second I've made of this design. It's basically the same thing that I have on Patriot Scout out back. Made the same thing, so I went and just measured it up. This is for the low car throttle cable, designed for that. Got your built-in return spring. And then this is for the extra push-pull cable to throttle this thing up when we're using the Premier Power Welder. So all set up, nice little stout unit. Anyways, we might start offering these eventually with or without the extra little throttle dealio. But anyways, got that done. I also got the air compressor bracket done over here. I'll show you that in a little bit. All right, this little spot here I've deemed a depository. This is where I've told Travis to deposit all the parts that get painted. I actually told him to put them over there, but he misunderstood me and put them right in the middle of my way. But that's cool. They're here. I'm going to show them to you. So again, I just mentioned the air compressor bracket. This is the custom one I just made that works. Goes right on to where the smog pump normally would go. So this pops on there and then uses our standard CPT bracket for the sand and compressor to go on. Let's see, yeah, like this right here. And then for adjustment, I got an adjusting bolt. So that's what we got going on with that one there that just got made. And then last episode, or maybe 3 episodes ago, heck, I don't remember, I talked about the battery bracket. I got the Barnes battery bracket, and I've got a bracket here that held the windshield washer reservoir off of old White Scout. So this thing was really, I wasn't happy with how much movement it had. So I went ahead and obviously totally beefed it up. We started with this one and this one, ended up connecting the two, putting a 45 down to the tower here, 45 down to the tower here. Fits the tower on the frame like a glove, and actually added a lot of rigidity to all that extra weight. That's a lot of weight between the battery and the windshield washer reservoir and the 1/4 inch thick bracket I made. That's way overkill. Okay, and this is my other depository. This is my old office, which turned into Zaid's non-use weight room or my guest room at times. But anyways, I've been depositing a lot of the parts. I've been unbolting, putting them in here. And again, earlier I mentioned about all the heat shield product stuff I use. Again, a lot of these guys that I'm mentioning, they don't pay me. They're not giving me this stuff. This is just stuff that I like to use, and because it works and it's good quality and it's made in the USA especially. And that's, like I said, one of the reasons I use this particular brand, because it's all made here in the USA. In fact, maybe even in Southern California. But got all sorts of stuff between sticky shield. There's just boxes and packages of all different kinds. Exhaust wrap. This is their Stealth Inferno. They've got some pretty interesting names for it. And then I bought some different stuff called their just lava version. So this is a little bit more higher extreme heat control. And I'm actually going to put this one like on the first few feet of the pipe up front, and then the rest of the pipes will get the lava stuff. So anyways, a whole various, I mean, I probably have, shoot man, $2,000 to $3,000 just in these heat shield products alone. When I built Patriot Scout, I again bought several $1,000s worth of their products. It went along with the vintage air system, the super duper Magnum, whatever the heck that thing is. I'll tell you, man, it's nice and comfortable in there. So I'm hoping for the same results in the Travelall. This is called a poor man's tablet, aka just cardboard. So I can tell you for a fact, every one of these items I've written down on here and gotten done. I've done 2 other things that wasn't on this list that I remembered I needed to do or came across I needed to do that never got entered on this list. But this helps me with some of the small stuff, you know, that I just want to make sure I get done. In fact, I can cross that one off, air compressor bracket. I got that done yesterday. Still haven't done the high beam switch. Still got to mount the welder, USB ports in the dash. I still waiting for my radio from Trent. Bungs for the front bump stops. When I get the frame, I still got to take this whole frame apart, flip the frame upside down, and I still got to mount the skid plates and everything. I mean, dude, I keep thinking, oh, I'm done fabbing. Oh yeah, and there's a power steering cooler over there. I still got to mount to one of the sliders. So anyways, I keep thinking that I'm done with the fabbing. No, yeah. I could start this whole list. In fact, I got a fresh tablet right here to start over with. All right, so one of the things I was working on when cameraman Joe arrived was the rear bumper. Just had the last couple things to do, a little bit of welding, and I had to mount in these shackle mounts or rope mounts or whatever you want to call them. They need to go all the way from the bottom through the frame, and I need to trim them down. So that's where I'm at. I'm going to throw my earplugs in, my safety glasses on, and I'm going to get to work. These are Harbor Freight brand cutoff wheels. You usually buy these other brand that supposedly cuts faster and all that, and they do cut faster, but they also wear out faster. I literally get, like, they say 2 times the life right here on the blade. I usually get like 5 times the life out of this blade versus the higher dollar one. And these are so much cheaper. All right, so bumper's all welded up. While it's cooling off, I'm gonna have Travis do another coat of lizard skin. And for those viewers that kind of curious how it does get applied and stuff, well, you're just in luck. It's time to put another coat on, so he's gonna show you how it gets done. First up, what Travis is gonna do is he's opened it up, but you thinned it out with some water, correct?
Yeah, a little bit of water.
And then gonna go ahead and mix it up. And we're just using like a little paddle mixer for paint or whatever, and just gets mixed up in there. Make sure you get all the way down to the bottom and make sure there's no clumps in there. And again, this is the sound control. This is going to be layer number what? Layer number 3?
4.
4. This will be the 4th application on it. So once he gets that done, soak it in a tub of water. It'll rinse off. That's the other reason we like to use lizard skin, is it's not an oil-based product, it's actually a water-based product. So in the terrible event that your rig catches fire, it's not like you're adding fuel to it by having an oil-based liner on the inside of it. It's actually because it's all water-based. I'm not saying it doesn't burn, but it doesn't burn as hot as an oil-based product. The lower the air pressure, the more air pockets you put into the material, and it's those air pockets that actually help insulate, so to speak. So honestly, I prefer a higher pressure. It gets more of a fine texture, but it's, you know, if you want the full effect or the best effect out of the sound control stuff, it's to make sure it's kind of, you know, low pressure, so it goes in a little bloopy or whatever you want to say, but has a little bit of air pockets in it. All right, guys, so that's how you apply lizard skin. As soon as you're done spraying and you've gotten as much out as you can, like Travis is gonna run over and get that thing cleaned out, get water blown through it and everything, because the last thing you wanna do is have that stuff set up, you gotta throw the gun away. So it's always important to get a proper cleaning, take the tip off, flush it really good, and then until, you know, wait a few hours. And in this weather, you know, literally it's only like 2 hours since the prior coat. It's just flashing really fast and doing good. And with the thinner coats, you're fine. If you're doing heavy coats, then you risk the product cracking as it dries and shrinks. So anyways, it's just all about being patient with this product, because the results are well worth it. But anyways, that's enough for this episode. I've got stuff to do. Like I said, under 60 days until Unreal Adventure 2026 starts. And man, let me tell you, looking at pictures of where I was with Patriot Scout at this time last year, I'm way behind. So don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you again to our sponsors. Catch you guys next time.